I pointed out yesterday how in Canada nothing is as easy as it seems. BC's Supreme Court ruling in favor of a billionaire that he could sue Twitter for defamation. Well, that door swings both ways. And so does this guy, Stephen Guilbeault, Canada's Minister of Culture. You see how diverse Justin Trudeau's cabinet is, full of a bunch of Frenchmen who apparently cut their own fucking hair. But Tucker Carlson ripped into him for very good reasons because, yeah, that ruling by the BC Supreme Court is definitely going to have a trickle-down effect, kind of like how Justin Trudeau also has a trickle-down effect whenever he sees a strong man in power walk by him. It's definitely not a good thing that BC Supreme Court is allowing, I forget the billionaire's name, it really doesn't matter, allowing big tech to be sued on our borders because, as you can see here, Tucker Carlson provides the commentary, so I'll just read what we have here and then we'll parse it out. Well, this is all moving pretty fast. It doesn't move pretty fast, but you don't worry, it's for your safety. Up in Canada, the Heritage Minister just announced this week that the country will introduce new regulations to ban social media posts that are deemed hurtful or offensive. We want to protect Canadians online, the minister explained. Yes, because I would love to have the Liberal Party of Canada tell me what is hurtful and offensive. Just imagine a Democratic Party that has absolutely no backbone and is ineffectual at every turn. It's something like that, just with a healthy helping of social justice values on top of that. It's like if the Squad was about another 50 pounds heavier, and that's who our future majority government is going to be. Not because I'd vote for him. Fuck, I would rather vote for a party who would willingly inject everybody with AIDS than the Liberal Party. But because I'm over here in Alberta, it doesn't matter how I vote. We're going to vote Conservative regardless. And everywhere east of Manitoba is just going to stupidly vote for the Liberal Party. And every large city in between here and Thunder Bay. So thank Christ you at least have a salvageable bipartisan system. Oh, bi-party, sorry, not bipartisan. Couldn't be further from the truth. Of course, they want to protect themselves. Protect you from protecting themselves from criticism. Yeah, see how that works, right? You're protected when you can't speak. Exactly. The Heritage Minister was actually apparently been in the public light before this proposing sweeping regulations, very similar. Back in February, we have the article of the piece of legislation, Bill C-10, that he wants to push through, and that's why I didn't want to include this story in the first video, because yeah, it's a big boy and it does a whole lot more than just implement a fucking human rights tribunal for social media. Yeah, that's a thing that we have up here. If you say anything bad, you can be drug in front of I would assume a bunch of fun-loving individuals who can set fines on you based on what you said and who took offense because of it. Canada is really fucking stupid, and it's gone tremendously downhill in the past 6 years now at this point. The bill is formally, yes, C-10, even though I'd advise Trudeau and Stevie to chew on some C-4. It was introduced back in November 3rd by the ministry. They really just change their name to the corporate ministry if they want to save any face. That's kind of a accurate description as well. Parliament still hasn't approved this as of writing, nor have they done that for C-19 as well, which will expand mail-in voting, but I'm sure they're both going to be voted on at the exact same time because they both have the exact same desired effect of more control for the federal government because they never, ever, ever had enough. And don't just take Tucker Carlson's word for it. The Globe and Mail did a big write-up of this, but if you click on the link there, it's paywalled. So at least somebody over there, the True North Center, has a subscription to the Globe and Mail. I could not be persuaded at all to ever give them any of my money. So here's a little snippet of what Justin Trudeau and his cabinet of idiots is proposing. If approved by cabinet, the Canadian legislation could be introduced in Parliament as soon as February or March, the same time that he wants to pass or call a snap election as well. The legislation is expected to be influenced by the measures already in place in other countries such as Germany, which require social media platforms to remove illegal content. That's not bad, okay, if it's stopped there, but it doesn't, under tight deadlines and the threat of financial penalties. So, you know what just happened to Parler? Yeah, that would happen to everything in Canada. So, don't worry, you're going to be safe. You just won't be allowed to do anything ever. In a Canadian context, this will likely involve the creation of a new government regulator. You can see why it's just going to skate through the legislature because, hey, that means that there's going to be more committees for more people to sit on and not make any fucking noticeable difference. Worthless. Worthless. But here's that bill, okay? And hilarious, this is also from the Globe and Mail, but at least this one's not paywalled, and I have my ad blocker on, so it's all good. Federal government tabbed changes to the Broadcasting Act. It says it will require online streaming services to contribute as much as $830 million a year towards Canada content by 2023. So it wants to put all of these shitty, and I mean absolutely shitty. There is nothing good about Canadian content, okay? We export every one of our good actors and comedians to the United States for this such reason, because the CBC and the CTV don't produce anything of fucking note. All they do is just syndicate everything that's on ABC, NBC, and Fox, okay? They don't produce anything that's of note, and they haven't for decades at this point. And to say that they syndicate anything of note over the past, well, that same amount of time would be giving them way too much credit. I do love laugh tracks over Chuck Lorre comedies. Ugh. Bill C-10 introduced Tuesday. This was back in November, so a little context there. By Canadian Heritage Minister Stephen Gilbert. I don't care if I'm pronouncing that right. French account for less than a quarter of the population. Would expand the authority of Canada's broadcasting regulator, the Canadian Radio, Television and Telecommunications Commission. It's like if the PMRC properly took over and regulated all of music. It's a terrible, terrible government entity. To include online video and music streaming services such as Netflix, Crave, Disney Plus, and Spotify. The legislation flows from the related Liberal Party campaign promise. And it is already generating a debate over the role federal regulation should play, if any. It doesn't. You shouldn't be fucking pushing your shitty product onto there. The bill would give the CRT the power to require streaming services to make financial contributions to support Canadian content in areas such as television, film, and music. Okay, listen, I love being in Alberta, an Albertan rather. I could live with being called a Canadian. There is nothing in the realm of television, film, and music that has come out of Canada that hasn't been eclipsed 3, 4, or 5 times by American or European variants. Like, what's our best known television show? Kids in the Hall? Maybe? SCTV? Shit that hasn't been on the air for 30 or 40 fucking years. Film? I don't know. I know of films that are filmed in Toronto and Vancouver, and music, don't make me laugh, okay? Rush is probably the most famous band to come out of Canada. Oh, and Justin Bieber, there you go, case in point. All sucks. That's because Canada doesn't do a great job of dealing with exceptionalism, okay? Got caught on that loop for a second. Jordan Peterson pointed this out, that it's more or less just kind of the status quo across everything, okay? That's kind of what happens when you have a very socialist base. Not like the colloquial term that always gets thrown around by establishment GOP types to try to scare you into voting for them. But as you can see, the federal government just keeps trying to get more and more power and provide you with shittier and shittier services that they keep seizing all the time. Like our wonderful healthcare system. You can wait for 9 hours in the emergency room if you're fucking in need of getting something stitched up. Like I'm staring here at my hand where I've got 5 stitches in my hand that I needed in junior high school. Yeah, when I put a chisel through my hand. 9 fucking hours in the emergency room. I think that was the last time I was ever there. Knock wood. The bill also sets the stage for the CRTC to regulate the promotion of Canadian content in a similar way to rules that apply on traditional TV and radio stations. That's what I said earlier, that they're trying to make, or YouTube is trying to make themselves the equivalent of cable news, and that's exactly what this does through the power of legislation. Okay, and if this is somehow fucking stupidly successful, expect that happening south of the border as well, by the way. Failing to comply with such CRT orders could lead to monetary penalties. How all this works will remain unclear. The legislation provides broad powers for the CRTC but much of the detail about how funds would be collected and distributed will be left to the CRTC to sort out after the period of public consultations. They're trying to force their shitty stuff onto their platforms. And what this will eventually lead to is the creation of the tribunal, like it's being suggested as well, and not being allowed to access platforms that don't comply to this retarded promotion of substandard Canadian art, if you want to call it that. This is what happens when you allow too much government regulation, and I can't fucking stand it at all. Another step is to ensure support for programs produced by radicalized groups, official language, minority communities, so French communities, women, and LGBTQ+. Oh, stunning and brave. Stunning and brave. Because when I'm looking for something good to watch, I'm definitely making sure I know who's directing it, who's producing it, and I want to make sure that the proper quotas are out there, okay? Because when I go back and I want to watch, I don't know, something good like Casino, I see the list of people there, and all I see is Martin Scorsese, give or take Robert De Niro, Joe Pesci, a bunch of guineas that put together a terrific movie some 30 years ago. But I only watch that on certain occasions because I need to make sure that my quotas are kept up. Otherwise, the CRTC is going to come and find me. Oh, the report also called on the federal government to require providers of foreign media content such as Netflix to collect and remit sales tax on Canadian sales. So, okay, if you've been paying for Netflix subscriptions since the beginning of time, you've noticed all of the different price increases. I haven't had Netflix. I used to have a Netflix account, and it was the most expensive version of Howard Stern's Private Parts and the Lemmy documentary that I ever bought. I had other people using it at the same time. It didn't really bother me, but it was, what did it start out? $11.99 when I first checked in, and you could stream stuff in high definition for, I don't know, several different platforms, and it eventually boosted up to $16.99, and I just told them to go fuck their mother because I wasn't watching anything on there other than a couple of George Carlin stand-up specials, but I can fucking watch them based on the physical media that I have. But now, depending on which province you live in, and if you live in Alberta, you don't have a provincial sales tax until Jason Kenney fucks up his current government, and then they put in the NDP, and then they think that's a good idea. Tax yourself out of a state of recession that you guys lobbied for. It'll be fucking great. But every other province in the union has a specific sales tax. Like, I'm pretty sure BC is 7 or 8% on top of the 5% GST. So yeah, you're gonna have to start paying that because the government needs a taste of that because nobody's really watching regular cable television anymore. So they just want it all regulated because it's for your safety. I could read through the rest of this, but it's late in the evening and I don't want to be this upset going into bed. So just know, if your Canadian government is coming for more power, I know that this isn't a shock, but at least they're coming for your entertainment this time. And don't worry, they're at least going to replace it with a tragically hip documentary. Oh boy, don't we all have something fun to look forward to. That's it for today, guys. I thank you all very much for the gift of your time. I've been Don Consuelo. I want you to follow your gut and get after it. Take care, everyone.